I should have been at the same age, but they didn't catch me till I was like 13 with ADHD. Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, I don't really need to talk about my ADHD because it's so obvious when I'm around people, when you just see me being me, apparently. And I never knew this until like later, like even late into the band's career. I didn't realize it until I saw like interviews and stuff. I was like, oh, that's how I am? Because even like making home videos with my brothers and sisters, I never thought I was like, you know. But then seeing how other people interact with each other, I was like, oh, okay. I'm not weird. I'm just like different. That's okay. You know, I jump around. Get up, and get down. Jump. Am I literally talking about ADHD? My ADHD is shining through me right now. Just like popping up now. I'm singing a House of Pain lyric. I'll serve your ass like you're McEnroe. If your girl step up and I'm slapping the hoe. Word to your moms that came to drop bombs. I got more rhymes than the Bible's got psalms. And just like the prodigal son I return, anyone stepping to me, you get burned. Because I got lyrics and you don't got one if you come to battle with a shotgun. Ahmad, thank you for the 1,500 bits. I'm such a nerd. God damn it. Any tips for ADHD? Don't feel disparaged, you know? Don't feel like you're defeated, because I know it's easier to get angry when you have ADHD, when the frustration comes on very quickly. So as long as you don't give in to amazement, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Terrence McKenna said that. He said, but he was talking about doing psychedelics, and he would like do what he calls heroic doses. And he said when he started getting into these worlds, these new planes of existence, that these, I think he said DMT, that these elves, these geometric elves were telling him, you know, don't give into amazement. And so he just was like, okay, as he's freaking the fuck out, you know. So I think for a lot of things, anxiety, ADHD, I can only really speak on those two. So I think, yeah, for me, it's trying to gauge that amazement and how you can combat that. Great thing. So yeah, that happened. So I took that. I just wanted to get drugs. Then I'd come to find out I have a nervous disorder and ADHD. And later I would come to get depression. That was fun. But yeah, it just, you know, for me it was an excuse to get drugs. And then I hated the drugs once I started taking them again in the band, when the band got bigger. And yeah, one day we were in Australia and I looked at all my pills and I just didn't want to be that guy anymore. So I, you know, I'm sure you guys can see video, like interviews and stuff. Actually, here's a clip. Here's a little thing for you guys. There's a clip where me, Ryan, and John are in an interview, and John's like putting food to me, and then like I go for it and he like takes it back. Yeah, I was heavily medicated on anti-anxiety, anti-depression, anti-ADHD. It was just, I was so numb, I didn't feel like a real person. I was in the sunken place. I was like in the shell of who everybody saw, but I couldn't be who I wanted to be. I couldn't perform the way I wanted to perform. That's the type of dude I was. So yeah, it scared me. So then, yeah, one day in Australia, I looked at all the pills. I still had like 30 of each, and I just put them in the trash because I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it anymore. But that was my decision. You know, it's not for everybody. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I knew that I had to do that for myself. I knew that in order for me to just get better, I had to get away from this pharmaceutical thing that was literally killing me. I wasn't progressing as a person. I was stuck in this thing, and I couldn't change the way I acted, or felt, for that matter. It was very scary.
Your connection with your fans, I would have to imagine how open you are as part of that. You talked a little bit about anxiety and depression. Do you talk about that with the fans? Is that
Sure.
Okay?
Absolutely.
In what format?
Yeah, I've received letters from fans telling me, you know, their struggles with depression, with being bullied, with anxiety, with ADHD. Even if I have the slightest understanding, if I make anyone else feel more at ease with who they are, then that's the best thing. You know, whether or not we share that same thing, it's just comforting to me to know that I can give relief if it's at all possible.
In little moments where I get really sad, and then I'm just like, just kidding, oh, I'm really happy. So it was like really, really crazy.
And the guy ended up, leaving the room for like 20 minutes, comes back and he's like, well, you have a very strong case of ADHD. And I'm just like, cool, what's that? And they put me on medication. I took that for about a year, and it freaked me out. I didn't like who I'd become. Because it's like, for me, this is what it was like. It's not the same for everybody, but for me, it was like, I'm inside this body, and I'm watching myself behave a certain way, and there's nothing I can do about it. And it was terrifying. It scared the shit out of me. I was so scared. And I was maybe 15 at the time that or 14 or 15 when I told my mom, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I did it originally like, oh yeah, no, I get pills? Cool. Like, I want to try these. So I tried them out, and it weirded me out, and then I stopped taking them. And I took them again for like 6 months when the band started getting really a lot bigger, started touring. And I remember just being in a hotel room one night and taking all the pills. I had like 60 count of each, and I was just like, I'm done. I can't do it. I would rather be myself and cope with this. I don't want to just numb this. And it took a while, though, for me to understand that. But it definitely affects everything I do. I mean, it's not like it is a detriment to anything I do by any means. Everybody has moments where they bounce around and multitask. And, I mean, we're all basically ADD children because we sit on our phones and watch Netflix and talk on the phone and talk to our friend and write on this thing and listen to music and doing 8 things at once. So I just started to realize, like, oh, I have control. I can do what I want. And luckily, I've been able to talk to people and get through certain things where it now has a positive effect, where I use all that energy to expel into like creating stuff, which is great. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for that. I've had anxiety for a long time. I mean, the same guy who diagnosed me with ADHD was like, you also have anxiety disorder nervosa. And I was like, oh, cool, it sounds made up. Fuck you. But, there were times... There's still times where I get that panicking feeling, no pun intended. But yeah, I did that to myself. I walked right into it.
Right at the end of the night, too.
But that still happens. What I've started doing, honestly, and this is going to sound like very Rick Rubin-esque, but I started meditating. And what I do is first thing when I wake up, either I work out and then meditate, or I meditate and then work out. So I spend 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes, in my studio, turn all the lights off, and I just put on like some white noise, and I sit there and I focus on what I'm thinking of first thing in the morning. And then I run through it. It can be anger, it can be sadness, it could be regret, it could be anything, negative, positive, whatever. And I sit there and I really fall into this hole where I'm focusing on it so much until I get to a point where I go, oh, it doesn't matter. And once I've hit that point, I'm good. Take a breath, start my day, but that really honestly helps me. And that's just how I personally like to start my day. And then anytime it happens when I'm in public, a couple deep breaths, count to 10. I'm usually okay. And then there's other times, sometimes it just can't be helped. And you just run with it. No shame. That's just who you are, you know what I mean? It's a part of you. Never feel ashamed for having that be an affliction, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. You're awesome. Thank you.